Hey guys, it's Brittany, and welcome to the Paranormal Dimension. And today I'll be sharing with you this paranormal experience that happened, I believe, if I can remember, I think maybe in December of last year, but there was another paranormal experience that happened in December of last year as well, although that I will mention another time. And this one that I'm going to share with you is something that happened, I think, just around early December, and it was, you know, before Christmas. So, what happened was there was a day where I was actually in the kitchen and the lights were off, and there was some light coming from the living room from the night lights, and of course, the night lights plugged into the wall in the kitchen. And so at this point, I was actually feeling hungry and feeling thirsty as well, so I got myself some water, I believe, and I got myself something to eat. But just when as I got myself something to eat, all of a sudden I heard, and I'm not kidding, and I don't know what this means, so I would have to look it up later. But just as I was in the kitchen, preparing uh, my food, all of a sudden I can hear this slight sound, like a soft sound of jingle bells. And as I heard it, but it didn't sound loud, like noisy, but it just sounded like soft and like right in the air. And just when I heard it, my head went up, and yeah, so my head went up, and I'm like, like that, and I'm looking this way, and I'm even looking to outside, and I'm like, did it came from outside? But then just when I was thinking about it, I thought it actually didn't sound like it was coming from outside. It sounded like it came from right within the room of between, like, somewhere of the living room and the kitchen. And so I thought, okay, that's the first time that I've heard jingle bells. Now, of course, the only time I hear jingle bells is like hearing it like as a ringtone, or hearing it like when you watch certain Christmas ads, or when you hear it in movies, or even like in a Christmas song, you know. But to hear it when there's nothing, you know what I mean? Like knowing that there's nothing on, or that there's not even a bell nearby to jingle the bell. So, because of that, yeah, it just got me thinking, okay, I know no one else is in here, like, no one else was in the kitchen except for me. And so, I think everyone else was probably, just um, relaxing, doing their own thing. And so I was just in the kitchen by myself, preparing my food, and that's when I heard it. But it sounded like somewhere in mid-air of the soft sound of jingle bells. And just when I heard it, it actually just faded. Faded away, but like soft. And so as that happened, I remember leaning like this, and I'm thinking, am I gonna hear it again? So, I'm like that for a while, like just trying to listen if I could possibly hear it again. And I don't. But it was just that one time. that I heard it, and since then I haven't heard a jingle bell sound. But when I did heard it, um, not only it caught my attention, but the thing is, it did not startle me. So just when I heard it, I think at this point I was probably thinking of something, and I was probably staring off into space as I'm in deep thought. And all of a sudden, just when I heard it, like I said, it didn't startle me. So, but just when I heard it, I'm like, and I'm looking, and so, and I'm like, okay, I hear jingle bells. Why do I hear jingle bells? And as I'm like leaning, like standing in the kitchen, but leaning my head to see if I could somehow try to hear it again, and I don't. And as I'm in there and still preparing my food, I'm like, okay, so that happened just now, knowing something was on my mind. But of course, nothing bad, but it was just something good, something, um, of course, something positive, and that happened. And so yeah, I didn't got scared. I was not startled, but it certainly got my attention, and I was just, and I even thought this too. I thought, okay, why did I heard it? Cause I know there are sounds that anyone can hear, for those who can hear and see of the spiritual realm, and so I know there's some sounds I've heard as well. There are some that were scary and some that are not, and this one is absolutely not scary. And so, knowing that I heard the sound of jingle bells, I'm like, well, okay, so what could this mean? And I thought, well, not only could this mean maybe to possibly get my attention, but maybe somehow it means that, I don't know, maybe there's just something that's going to happen, something good, something unexpected that might happen around this time of the year. And, maybe, or maybe, maybe it, maybe with the sound of jingle bells, maybe it's in a way of letting me know that the thing that I was thinking about, which was something positive, that that's how it's going to sound like. It's going to sound like this really great, um, really nice sound that's gonna sound like jingle bells in a way, you know. And maybe it's gonna have that feeling, like it's gonna have that warm Christmas feeling to it. That maybe it's going to feel like that, and so I think it could be that as well. But yeah, that was the only time that I've heard the sound of jingle bells, when there is no Christmas songs playing, or you hear the sound of a jingle bell in the song. And yeah, this was the only time I heard it, when there was no songs that had the sound of it in it, or a movie, so no TV was on, and when everything was quiet, and of course when we don't even have a bell, we don't have a jingle bell to jingle with. Sounds kind of funny, but that's true. And so, knowing that, I know for a fact that it was, in fact, spiritual. It was this spiritual sound. I don't know if you heard that, but I heard a knock. Like it sounded like a right outside of the house, like on the top wall near the ceiling. I don't know if you heard that, but I did. Speaking of paranormal, But it could have been maybe the wind, maybe a little creek, but it didn't sound like a creek, it sounded like a tap. So, but yeah, what was I saying before that? But yeah, so that was the only time I heard a jingle bell without anything being on, with no Christmas songs that have the sound in it, or a Christmas movie, or just nothing else was on to for anything to have made that sound. So this was in fact spiritual, and it was meant for me to hear. Now I will say that sometimes when something paranormal happens, especially when it comes to certain particular sound or even a voice, whatever this whatever the sound might be, um sometimes it will make itself make okay, because I believe that an entity, a spirit, will make itself known to multiple people, which is why they can hear it together at the same time, which does happen. But it also happens where, yeah, this happens too, where if a sound, like if someone hears a certain sound and it comes from out of nowhere, but if only one person hears it and other people don't, that doesn't mean like, oh, they're just hearing things. They're just, maybe there's, maybe they're just somehow thinking they heard it when they did it. No, and that's not the case. It's not that at all, because we do live in a very much spiritual world as much as the physical, because we are more and very much so of spiritual beings than we are of physical, because we are all of that. We are very both very physical, very spiritual beings, but also very sexual beings as well. So, and that's just, that's what we are. And honestly, I think having that together just makes things more interesting. It just makes life more interesting because of that. And so yeah, there will be times as well where, like, let's say there's a group of people, and even if one person can hear a voice or can hear a particular sound, whatever the sound might be, whether it's something light and soft or if it's something hard and startling, but if one person can hear that and it's something spiritual, and if one person hears it but other people don't, that just means that the spirit, maybe this either bad spirit or good spirit, is making itself known only and only to that one person. It doesn't want to make itself known to the other people, but it only wants to makes itself known to only one person, that it wants them to hear whatever it is, the sound that they made, for them to hear only, and not those other people. So that's why. And believe me, that's happened with me and my family. There's times where me and my sister, or me and my mom, will hear something at the same time, and other times it doesn't. There's times where maybe my sister will hear something that I didn't hear, or there's times where maybe I would hear something and maybe that my mom didn't. So it just happens like that on and off, but it depends. And again, it happens when this happens when the spirit, like a good or bad spirit, wants to make itself known to either to one person and one person only, or to make itself known to multiple people, whether it's to 2 people, 3, 4, 5, or even as as many, as it wants to make itself known to as many other people as it wants. So that is just a fact. Because I've certainly had those experiences, and I still do at times, and yeah. And yeah, so with the paranormal, it's just so fascinating, and it's just like there's so much to learn from. Um and yeah, so when talking about the subject itself, I'm certainly not afraid to talk about it. But when it comes to the more really dark, more unsettling, um how do you put it, like when it comes to the more dark and more unsettling aspects of it, that's where I feel completely terrified, you know, because I know that it's true, but it's just really terrifies me, and it really unsettles me, especially when it's something so dark and so evil. It just gives me chills. But when it comes to something that's more light and and something that's warm and comforting, then of course that doesn't scare me to talk about that. So anyway, so that is it for this paranormal experience, and I hope you guys enjoyed this. So yes, so again, more videos will be coming along the way, as I mentioned. So hope you look forward to that, because I do. So I hope you guys are having a good day, and so to see more like this, to hear of the paranormal, and for more movie content, reaction streams, and the paranormal, subscribe and click on the bell so you'll be notified when I upload. That's all for today, and I'll see you at the movies.